Welcome to the Becoming You show, where limits get torched and possibility takes the mic. I'm Leah Roling, human in permanent beta, neurostrategist, mom to 3 amazing humans, married to 1 legendary soul, and your no fluff permission slip to stop waiting. Every week, we rewire brain patterns, smash hand-me-down mindsets, and dive into the daring, identity-shifting conversations most people dodge. Ready to turn potential into proof? Grab your pen. Your next chapter starts now. Welcome back, my beautiful friends. I hope you are awesome. Happy post-holiday. I really want to just kind of dive right in because today is about the real architecture of your life, meaning the blueprint beneath your habits, your emotions, and your energy. This architecture that decides your destiny, right? Long before motivation ever enters the room. So this is what we get to build together. And this is what I have been thinking about while I was on my vacation with my son in Dubai and kind of every day since. So I want to start with this idea that we all kind of know, but I really want us to feel the truth of it. And that is this: life doesn't change because you want it to, okay? Life does not bend to your desire. It bends to your identity, to intention, to practice, to structure. The life that you're living right now is not, my beautiful friends, is not a reflection of your potential. Please hear me say that. It is not a reflection of your potential. It is not a reflection of your capacity. It is not a reflection of what is possible for you. It is a reflection of your patterns, now and past. If your identity says, I'm overwhelmed, I'm inconsistent, I'm tired, I'm too busy, if it says any of those things, then your behaviors will follow. If your identity says, I take responsibility, I'm intentional, I'm aligned, I'm capable, I'm committed, then your outcomes will transform. We talk a lot about a model on this podcast, but identity, how you perceive yourself, how you think about yourself, drives ultimately how then you feel about yourself, which then drives behavior and your results, right? This is the formula. This is the foundation. This is the framework. This is the architecture of life. And so I want to kind of infuse in there, before we move forward, this notion of energy, because I believe that energy is identity in motion, right? And when we talk about energy, I'm not talking about the drink more coffee kind of energy. Rather, I'm talking about the internal energy that shapes your decisions, that shapes what you do or not do, that shapes the possibility that you allow to be considered as options to choose from. That kind of internal energy. Your energy, right, determines what you notice in the world. It determines what you tolerate in the world amongst yourself and others. It determines what you pursue. It determines what you avoid. It determines, as I mentioned earlier, what you believe is possible. Now, most people think their energy is a result of their life, is a result of their circumstances, is a result of their situations, is a result of name in the fill in the blank. It's not. Your energy is the generator of your life. And this right here is why energy is going to be the very first theme inside the InterLab membership that we are going to open up in January. So if you want to know about it and you haven't heard about it, check the show notes and you can learn all about the InterLab membership. It is a membership and a year-long invitation to work on your life. Because for too many of us, we spend an enormous amount of time working in it. Rinse, repeat, working in it, doing the same thing, wanting something different. This is the membership where you actually get to work on your life. And we're going to start in January with this idea of energy. Because people ask me all the time, Leah, what is the most important thing that you teach, right? And is it mindset? Is it identity? Is it clarity? Is it emotional regulation? Is it productivity? Is it time management? Is it, right? And although all of those matter deeply, they're all conversations that we bring up on this show, but none of them are truly accessible without energy. I want you to consider that. It is really hard to run models, run cognitive models. It is really hard to access your mind, a clear mind, in an overstimulated world while running on exhaustion. It is incredibly hard to regulate emotions when your nervous system is tired and you haven't had a moment of internal stillness. It is incredibly hard to make aligned decisions, right? When you're living on fumes, right? And your system is in survival mode. It's really hard to temper your anger with your children or with your team when you're exhausted. Everything is harder when you have not managed your energy. That is why energy management is king. It's the foundation that everything else sits on, right? If your energy is dysregulated, is depleted, or constantly hijacked, it doesn't matter how much clarity you want. It doesn't matter how many goals you set. It doesn't matter how committed you feel in the moment. Your system will always pull you back into old patterns of energy conservation. And when you learn how to regulate, when you learn how to elevate, and when you learn how to direct your energy on purpose, everything changes. And I mean everything. Your health changes, your relationships change, your creativity changes, your income changes, your confidence changes, your ability to be generous changes, your resilience changes, your identity changes, right? This is why we start with energy. This is why I start with energy in my client calls. This is why we start with energy when we talk about, coaching and practices in organizations. And this is why we start with energy inside InterLab in January, because it is the on-ramp to every transformation that follows. And once you start to understand energy as the foundation, that thing that determines, right, your clarity, your emotional regulation, your capacity, your and ultimately your identity, the next question becomes, okay, so what do I actually do with that? Right? How does this show up in my day-to-day life? And this is where habits come in, because habits are simply the expression of your energy. They're the behavioral echo of your inner world. So I want you just to try this on for a minute. I want you to look back at the habits that you have, that you've brought to this very moment. And they will tell a story about your energy, whether it was abundant and vibrant and available, or if it was depleted, in scarcity, and hard to access, right? When your energy is depleted, your habits will follow suit. And when your energy is grounded and intentional, your habits strengthen. So before we really talk about habit building, before we talk about consistency and discipline and structure, right? All things that a lot of us want access to, we want to learn more about as we enter into a new year of possibility. We have to acknowledge this. Your habits right now are not random. They're not they're not moral successes or failures. They're not about willpower. Your habits are a reflection of the identity, what you chose, and the energy that you're bringing into your life every single day. Okay? So I want you to really grasp that. Identity and energy are foundational to whatever it is that you want in your life next year. Okay? So a lot of times you will hear, differences of psychology and differences of, I suppose, opinion on this that might offer up that your habits create your identity, and they do not. They do not. Habits, what you do and what you don't do in any given day, that does not create who you are. Who you are by way of your identity creates your habits. So people will say this: I want to eat healthier. I want to be more consistent in the gym. I want to wake up earlier. I want to stop procrastinating. Okay? But I want you to consider that your habits follow the identity you're practicing. If your identity doesn't shift, your habits cannot sustain themselves. This is why people will relapse into old patterns, because they're trying to act differently without becoming differently. That's why this is the Becoming You show, right? So when you look and you really look at habits through that lens, not kind of an isolated action to do or not to do, not as willpower tests or a tribute to your motivation or discipline or as a moral success or failure, but rather the natural outflow of who you are, the natural outflow of your both your identity and your energy. When you do that, if you were to do that work, you would start to see something really important. Not just because I'm sharing this with you, but because you've experienced and witnessed and discovered it and reflected on it for yourself, right? Habits are not the starting point. They're the system. They're the symptom, right? They're the evidence of what's happening underneath. They're the behavioral patterns that your internal world is producing, which means that if we want to change your habits, right, in a meaningful and lasting way, right, we have to go deeper. We have to look at what your life is actually being built on. I'm going to say this as lovingly as I can. If your habits predicted results for your life, meaning if just knowing what to do or not to do by way of a habit was the key to your success and was the key to your transformative year, you would already know what to do. You would already have adopted the habits that are required. But that's not, there's so many missing pieces before we get to habits, right? Because again, the habits are a symptom. The habits are the evidence of what we're going to bring forward next, okay? When we think about your life and we think about what it's actually being built on, I want to bring forward kind of a story that I've kind of been thinking about ever since I got back from Dubai with my son, right? I think about the Palm Jumeirah, okay? They built an entire island, an entire island. Look at the before and after pictures. It's incredible. Not on concrete, not on land that already existed, but literally out of water and belief. 6 years, water and belief. And it makes you think, at least it makes me think, right? If that is what it was built on, what is your life being built on? Is it being built on something solid, right? Belief, intention, identity? Or is it being built on doubt? Is it being built on exhaustion? Is it being built on survival mode? Is it being built on patterns of identity? That's just not who you are. I'm just not a morning person, or I just don't like to run, as if those are facts or truths about you. Or this is just not possible for me, or I'm not the kind of person that fill in the blank. All of that, if that is what you expect your habits to be built on and become sustainable in an effort to get you the results that you deserve this year, it isn't happening. It's not happening. Because either way, whether your life next year is being built on a strong foundation of belief and of confidence and of identity and of intention, or it's being built on doubt and exhaustion and survival, your life is being constructed either way. Either way. So the question is whether the foundation is strong enough to hold the future that you're asking for, the future that you are visioning, the future that you are efforting, the future that you've probably continued to effort year after year after year after year. And that's why we have to look past habits, right? And look at the layers underneath, right? Because that is where the real architecture of your life lives. Your life is being built in layers. It is. The first layer, identity, what you believe to be true about yourself, what you truly believe to be true about yourself. What do you believe is possible? Are you still navigating from an identity of ability? Or have you given that up and you're beginning to explore the capacity of who you can become, right? That be state, that becoming state, is essentially the identity that you hold to be true for your future, either way, either true that you can or true that you can't. That second layer is emotions, right? Your ability to tolerate discomfort, because that is the price of your dream. That is the price of what you want. I promise you, there is a level of discomfort that you are going to have to sacrifice for the future that you desire. You can't have it both ways. And that layer of emotion, in order for you to be able to direct your emotional energy on purpose, right? Then you have layer 3, is your energy, how you regulate yourself. So you have your identity, your be state, what you think, what you believe to be true about yourself. All of that determines your emotions and what you can commit to and what you can tolerate and what you can redirect. And then how you regulate yourself within that. Do you use that discomfort as an invitation to shut down, to avoid, to choose comfort, to choose the immediate gratification of the now? Or are you willing to give yourself and hook yourself up with some wins for your future? I like to think about it that either way you're winning, right? You're either winning now by giving yourself wins now, or you're winning in the future by giving your future self some wins. But for too many of us, for too many of us, that's just skewed. We're hooking ourselves way up, too much up right now. And we're delaying the ability for our future to win. I want your future to win. Okay. Layer 4, behavior, what you do consistently. This is where you'll find your habits. But too many of us start with this. Too many of us start with the habits, the what to do, the what not to do, the what we will continue to do, practice. You know, uh, it's it's an oldie, right? They say it's an oldie but a goodie. It's not a goodie. It's not a goodie because it will continue to have you frustrated, thinking that there's something wrong with you when there isn't. It's just that we didn't go deep enough. We didn't start at the foundation. You know what to do. That's not rocket science. You also know what not to do. And you also know the behaviors that you believe you should continue efforting into the new year. That isn't what we're talking about now. What we're talking about now is the identity and the emotion and the energy that's required for you to show up with that behavior and make it very consistent without having to white knuckle the action, without having to white knuckle and require massive amounts of discipline and motivation. If you just are the person that does what is required, you will free up so much energy without needing willpower to execute. Because when you know who you are, you know what to do, and it becomes more easeful, more easeful. And then the last layer of this architect, this foundation that we're building on, is the evidence that you live in, right? If you change the outcome without changing the identity, you will get short-term results, right? You might make it to February. But if you change the identity, the outcome changes on their own. It's a ripple effect that your future deserves you to choose. So, all of that to say, this is why we built the InterLab membership. Because I like to consider and to think about transformation requiring a rhythm. It has a rhythm, and most people don't know the rhythm that produces real change, okay? We need a blend of clarity and accountability and emotional mastery and identity updates, right? And energetic stability and community and integration and little micro habits that support, right? That become the symptom and the evidence of the identity and reflection and support. And if you understand that these are all of the components, these are all of the tools that help you truly craft, create, architect, design, build, whatever word you want to use, your best life, we want a container with which to play in, an ecosystem where they're housed. And you don't need these things every once in a while, right? You need these consistently. The membership is not content. It is a container. It's where your identity lives. It's where your momentum lives. It's where your elevation lives. So if you came to the webinar last week, thank you. If you haven't, sign up. We have another one. Go watch the replay. If you can't make it to it, right? Put your name on it. You'll get the replay. You'll get the identity blueprint, and you'll get the reflections and embarking guide that I provide to my paying clients. You'll get it for free. But more importantly, if you're listening to this thinking, I really want 2026 to feel different. Not heavier, lighter. Not more demanding, but more intentional. Not more chaotic, but more aligned. then this membership is where your year will be built. Not through pressure, but through practice, through identity, through calibration, through community, through tools, through frameworks, through models to help you work on your life. Your life is deserving of it. Your life matters. We want you to choose it. We want to be able to support you in navigating, in working on your life, right? So before I wrap up this conversation today, I want to leave you with this. Standing in Dubai, looking at the palm, one of what I might say, for me at least, one of the greatest examples of human vision on the planet, I keep thinking about this one truth for me. If that vision had relied on momentum and motivation or willpower, it would have not have been built, because those things are temporary. They fluctuate. They disappear under pressure. They collapse the second doubt enters the room. If the palm had depended on feeling inspired, or on everyone believing it was possible, or on the energy never dipping, or on needing to know the how, it would still be water today. Why? Because everything would have knocked it off its course. The same things that will knock you off your course next year, the same thing that knocked you off your course this year. Doubt, exhaustion, criticism, people saying it wasn't possible, people saying it was foolish, people saying that it couldn't be done. And that's the part that most of us forget. Momentum isn't strong enough to build a life. Belief is. The palm was built because the vision carrier, the believer, stayed anchored. Not because he knew every step, not because the plan was perfect, not because the path was fully mapped out, but because he believed that next step would be revealed when needed. And that is the same for you. Your life is not built on hyper motivation. Your life is built on the identity of the one who believes. You, the one who stays connected to that vision long enough for the evidence to catch up. So as you move into 2026, I want you to ask yourself, am I building my life on belief? And what belief am I building it on? Am I believing it? Am I building it on temporary energy that disappears the moment life gets heavy? Right? Because possibility becomes real, not when you have the entire plan, but when you have the identity strong enough to hold the vision until the plan unfolds. The palm exists because someone believed in what did not yet exist. Your future works the exact same way. Let's build it. Let's build it with belief, with intention, with the foundation strong enough to carry the life that you're here to create, the life that you deserve. You deserve a life that feels like it was built with intention, with love, with clarity, with identity, with possibility. 2026 can be that year, right? But only if you decide it, only if you choose it, only if you commit to it. And we are here to build it with you. So hopefully we'll see you inside the membership. We'll see you on the next webinar, and or we'll see you in the next year with a new conversation, inviting you to the possibility of you. See you next year. See you next week. Take care, everybody. If this episode cracked something open, good. Let it. And then head to leahrolingcoaching.com and grab the tools to rewire the story and reclaim your future. It is yours. And then share this with someone who's still waiting to be chosen, still waiting for permission, and remind them they don't need a breakthrough, that they are the breakthrough. Until next time, my beautiful friends, invest in you and keep becoming.